Well, happy Friday to everyone here. Welcome to Inspirations for Your Life. I'm so glad you decided to join me here today. It is great to be with you on this show. Our granular topic, we'll get to in a minute, but the master topic for the week, ladies and gentlemen, is a really good one. Trust the process and ditch the force. The granular topic, ladies and gentlemen, is let go of control, let results unfold. Series 4, Show 28, episode number 7. Since today is Friday, it ends the master topic. So, again, great to have everybody here with me on the show today. If you're new here, I'd like to say welcome, a big warm welcome to you. If you're coming back, well, I'd like to say welcome back. It's always great to have people that enjoy the content that I produce. So, thank you so very much. If you have not checked out BelieveMeAchieve.com after the show, do that because there's lots of great information, including replays of this show and others on there. So, definitely check that out, as well as short form content, long form content, etc. If you guys are thirsty, well, I've got my RO water here. Maybe you want a snack, maybe you want to grab some fruit or something else, sweet or tart or not. Go ahead and do that and head on back to the show so we can kick this off. All right, everyone, enough with the housekeeping and let's get started, all right? So welcome once again to another transformational episode of the ever-popular Inspirations for Your Life podcast with me, John C. Morley. I'm a serial entrepreneur, podcast host, coach, engineer, graduate student, video producer, and, of course, much, much more. In today's episode, I'm diving very deep into one of the most liberating yet challenging life lessons, and that is letting go of control, something a lot of people have trouble with. Whether you're running a business, managing a team, or simply navigating your own personal journey, the desire to control outcomes can feel like, well, a safety net. But what if letting go is the very thing that sets you free? In this episode, you'll discover how surrendering control opens the door to clarity, growth, creativity, and, of course, peace and tranquility. If you're ready to stop forcing and start flowing, well, then this is the episode just for you. Let's get started. So, number one, control is an illusion. Trust the process. So often we believe that control is what keeps everything in balance. But in truth, trying to grip life too tightly often creates resistance, not results. And control gives the illusion of security, yet it often masks fear. Trusting the process means accepting that life unfolds on its own timeline, and that doesn't mean giving up. It means believing that what's meant for you will find you, and that your consistent, intentional efforts matter more than micromanaging every outcome. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to understand, but it is really the truth, guys. So really do pay attention to that. When you surrender, you stop fighting against, well, the current of life and allow opportunities to emerge naturally. Surrender isn't weakness, it's strategic. It invites, well, synchronicity into your life, inspiration, and grace. By releasing resistance, you allow new ideas, unexpected paths, and genuine connections to just naturally flow to you. Possibility doesn't live in perfection, it lives in the unknown, waiting for you to loosen the grip. And I think that's a very, very important thing for a lot of people to understand. Number 3, guys, is stillness. Stillness invites unexpected success. In stillness, we find clarity of our life. In quiet moments, the loudest insights arrive. Sometimes doing less allows more to happen. Stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about allowing your intuition and creativity space to thrive and to breathe. When you pause, you reflect, and you reset, you often uncover breakthroughs that frantic action could never produce. Number 4, let go to grow. I love that one. Release the outcome. Real growth begins when we detach from rigid expectations. The more we cling to specific results, the more we limit ourselves. Letting go of the outcome doesn't mean abandoning the goal. It means being flexible with how it unfolds. So trust that even if things don't go exactly as planned, they're leading you somewhere important. Number 5, micromanaging blocks momentum. Trying to control every detail is not a strength, it's a bottleneck. Micromanaging can sap your energy, creativity, and, of course, your morale. Not just for others, but for yourself. When you delegate, trust, and let go of hyper control, you create room for momentum to build naturally. True leadership is about vision and trust, not commanding and controlling. Number 4, guys, is detachment breeds creativity and clarity. When you're too attached to an outcome, your creative energy gets stifled. Detachment doesn't mean apathy, it means creating with love, releasing with grace, and being open to transformation. By letting go of obsession, you make room for, well, insight. Clarity becomes easier when you're not emotionally bound to how things should be. Number 7, success unfolds when you step back. A lot of people are afraid to step back. I think they feel that if they step back, they're going to be missing something. Sometimes the most powerful move is to step aside. When you stop pushing and allow space for things to just settle around you, solutions often emerge out of nowhere on their own. Progress doesn't always look like hustle. I think that's the misconception of a lot of people. It's like a garden. Success needs time to grow and often grows best when it's left undisturbed for a bit. You don't plant seeds and keep checking on them every day. Oh my gosh, is it growing? Is it growing? It's never going to grow. Right? You can't do that. Number 8, let your life surprise you. It's better unscripted. We love plans because they feel safe, but the magic is in the unexpected, the serendipitous moments. When we let life surprise us, we experience things far richer than what we could have predicted. Embrace spontaneity. Be curious, not controlling. That's the key, not controlling. The unscripted moments are where life becomes meaningful, memorable, and deeply, well, in a word, human. I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize is that we need to be human, and that's a very very I'm going to say important thing for all of us to realize is that we need to be human. Right. Number 9, clarity comes from surrendering, not stressing. Stress narrows your focus. Surrender expands it. When you're consumed with control, your mind becomes clouded. But when you breathe, you pause and let go, you gain a fresh perspective. You surrender. It's not about resignation, it's about releasing anxiety and trusting your inner own wisdom to guide you forward. I think that's a really powerful thing to guide you forward. Number 10, guys, stop forcing. Start letting things flow. Forcing things creates tension. Flowing with them invites ease. The most aligned paths are not forced. They unfold with rhythm by aligning with flow. You connect to purpose, presence, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, you connect to peace. I think that's a very important one. You connect to peace. It's about showing up, doing your best, and allowing life to respond in kind to you. But I think so many people get, oh, I don't know, they get dismayed, they get frustrated because things are not happening right this very moment. I think that's an important piece. Um, Hopefully that means something to you. And I'm hoping that maybe you'll be able to realize that when you let things flow, life is so much better. But I know that sounds hard. So here's the part of the show, guys, that I really like. Well, I like the whole show, but here's a part of the show that I think really drives the points home. So what I want to do is I want to share with you, basically giving you a personal story or lesson for each point today. And it's my goal that these points will drive home for you, not just a meaning, but they're going to give you a true purpose. And I think that's something that a lot of people, don't understand. They don't understand like what a true purpose is, or why they have a true purpose, or what it even means. So that's important. And so if we can think about that, then maybe we can learn to let go a little bit, and maybe we can become a little bit better than we were before. I know that sounds hard, but it's something that we need to understand. We need to trust the process. And I know trusting the process sounds like such a cliche these days, but trusting the process is where momentum takes spark. Okay. It's where the momentum takes spark. And I think that's a very, very keen insight, is that if we can understand where momentum takes spark and where we gain, maybe we might learn to be a little bit calmer. Maybe. And by being calmer, we can choose to let go and understand that this whole thing of control is really not control, but it's an illusion. All right. It's an illusion. And that illusion, I feel, is something that some people just, they get stuck on in their life. And the reason they get stuck on it is because they fear that if they don't react quickly, right, that they're going to miss the boat, that the boat's never going to come again. The truth is the boat had never arrived. And if you step, you're probably not even going to get into a boat because there's no boat for you to get into. So I think that's the thing that most people who step too quickly do, is they're like, oh my gosh, I better step because the boat's going to leave. But the boat hasn't even gotten to the dock yet. You're jumping off the bulkhead or your, let's say, area where the dock is waiting for the landing. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? Right? Control is an illusion. Trust the process. In my earlier entrepreneurial years, I lived by to-do lists and rigid timelines. I still have to-do lists, but not so much rigid timelines anymore. I let things kind of flow. I put down on paper what I need to do for the day, but then I just kind of let things happen. I look and see where things are. I'd create an entire script for how every meeting, pitch, or product rollout should unfold. I don't do that anymore. This was many, many years ago. When things deviated from the plan, and they always did, I felt like I was failing. I believed that controlling every piece was how I proved my value as a leader, but I was really just managing my own fear. Then came that pivotal moment. A software update went terribly wrong during a product demo with a big client. I had done everything right, but the technology had other plans. I had to improvise, adapt, and in that messy moment, something incredible happened. The client saw my authenticity. They said, "You didn't panic. That tells us more than your pitch." That day I realized that control is an illusion, but trust builds resilience. Trusting the process doesn't mean stepping back. It means, as I said, showing up consistently without gripping the steering wheel too tightly. Surrender opens the flow of possibility. I once launched a project that was, pretty certain it would succeed. I had the perfect concept, the right team, and even the market research to back it. But it didn't land. Instead of letting go, I kept pushing. I revamped the design, shifted the branding, tweaked the pricing. I was doing everything except surrendering. Eventually, I paused and asked myself, what am I holding on to so tightly? That's when I realized I was resisting what life was trying to show me, that this wasn't the right path right now. When I finally surrendered, new opportunities emerged, unexpected collaborations, creative breakthroughs, and even a new podcast segment that took off. Surrender didn't mean quitting to me. It meant unlocking doors I couldn't see while forcing my way through the wrong one. It was about trusting life enough to explore what's possible. Stillness invites unexpected, and I think this is important. Stillness invites unexpected success. I used to think success meant nonstop motion, 24 hours a day. I was always in action, emailing, scheduling, brainstorming, producing. But the irony was that my best ideas were showing up when I was trying to be productive. Wasn't trying to be productive, I should say. On basically walks, in the shower, or during moments of silence. I started to wonder, what if stillness wasn't wasted time, but creative space? That realization had hit me hard during a weekend retreat that I took. I disconnected from tech, spent time journaling, and sat with stillness for a while. By Sunday, my mind had uncluttered, and I had the blueprint for a new business model that became a game changer. Since Then I've built time into my routine for quiet time, not an escape, but as a strategy. Because in stillness, well, ideas aren't just born, we breathe life into them. And in silence, your deepest clarity speaks. Let go, everyone, to grow, release of the outcome. When I created my first online course, I was obsessed with numbers. I wanted 1,000 signups in 30 days. I had a marketing funnels and email sequences scheduled down to the hour. But every day I checked the numbers, and every day I felt deflated when they didn't match my projections. At one point, I asked myself, am I doing this for impact or for ego? That question changed everything. I shifted my focus to delivering real value to the people who had signed up, and I let go of the arbitrary target. Not only did engagement increase, but so did word of mouth referrals. The course ended up surpassing my original goal, but only after I released the need to control the outcome. Growth happens when you show up and stay open, and not when you try to script every result, like what happened to me on that demonstration. When the client saw that I was a person of integrity and very authentic, um, they decided to do business with us. Micromanaging blocks momentum. I once had a rock star team, but I didn't treat them like one. I double checked their work, I changed their wording, I sat in on meetings unnecessarily. I thought I was being thorough, but I was really signaling I didn't trust you. Morale dipped, creativity dried up, and projects went to a crawl. Eventually, a team member asked for a one on one and said, we're here because we believe in the vision, but we need space to contribute. That hit hard. I took a step back. I started delegating with clarity, and most importantly, trusted them to own their process. Within a few weeks, momentum had returned, in fact, doubled. Productivity is really soaring now as the time, and micromanaging had been the roadblock to it. Leadership isn't, folks, about being everywhere. It's about empowering others to lead themselves. Detachment breeds creativity and clarity. There was a stretch where I was completely emotionally attached to a business pivot. I had worked on it for, well, I'm going to say, I worked on it for months. And I think that's an important thing to know that I'd worked on something for months and then wonder what was going to happen. And I just knew it was the future. But because I was so invested, I couldn't see that it wasn't working. Feedback came in, but I dismissed it. I wasn't listening, I was defending. When I finally stepped back and viewed it with fresh eyes, I realized the concept was off, but the feedback revealed a stronger direction. I scrapped the original plan, incorporated the feedback, and launched something new that gained traction much quicker. Letting go of attachment gave birth to clarity, and clarity unlocked creativity for me, and it will for you too. I learned that the best ideas come from a heart that's committed but not confined in a space. Success unfolds when you choose to step back intentionally. I used to think I had to constantly go in order to succeed, but over time I noticed something odd. When I stepped back, even briefly, things sometimes progressed faster. A project I had been overthinking moved forward quickly when I stopped, tinkering. A team issue resolved itself when I gave space instead of stepping in. This pattern repeated often enough that I started trusting it. Now, when things feel stuck, I pause instead of pushing. I let conversation unfold, I give people room, and I revisit ideas after some distance, that is. And most of the time, that's when the breakthrough, guys, comes. Growth, this is important, isn't always loud. It isn't always loud. Often it's quiet, and it shows up after you've given it room to breathe. Let life surprise you. It's better unscripted. I've always been a planner. I love knowing what's next, as you probably do too. Having agendas, sticking to the vision board, and I still do some of that, but it's not as rigid. But some of my best memories, best connections, and best results happened when I threw the script away. A last minute invite led me to a networking event where I met a future business partner for a venture we were working on. A why not moment led me to launch a series that unexpectedly took off. See, life has a funny way of working better. than we plan, if we let it. The unscripted moments hold the greatest magic. Don't get me wrong, vision matters, and I wouldn't be where I am today without vision, but it's the willingness to be surprised that makes the ride worth it. When you loosen your grip on the plan, you give life room to exceed your expectations. And this lets me talk back about a challenge I spoke about this week about a client that was a little bit rude. Actually, it was their help desk. And the old me would have been like, I got to force this. I got to make this work. I got to make this in. I say, you know what? I don't need to make them understand. I don't need to be right or wrong. I don't even need to be in the situation anymore. And I think that's important. I think that's a very, very important. Very important. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense to everybody? I hope it does. I hope you can understand what all this means. I hope this means something to you. And maybe it'll get you to think a different way. I hope so. I hope that means something to you as a person. But then again, I know it may not. Right? I think sometimes people don't understand why they're doing something. I hope this means something to you as a person. I think sometimes people don't really understand like why things are happening. And they try to figure out how do they fit into the puzzle a little bit differently. And so that can be an important, let's say, thing to be aware of is how you fit into that puzzle. See, clarity comes from surrendering, not stressing. There was a time when I thought stress was the price of clarity. I believed that tension and urgency meant I was serious and focused. But the truth was, the more stressed I became, the more clouded my mind felt. Everything felt urgent. Everything felt personal. And I was too overwhelmed to see straight. It wasn't until I practiced surrender, letting go of what I couldn't control, stepping away, I needed space, that real clarity came. I started journaling, meditating, breathing. I realized clarity doesn't show up when your brain is on fire. It shows up when your soul is at peace. Surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom, guys. Stop forcing. Let things flow. One of the greatest transformations in my life came when I stopped trying to force everything into place. I began noticing that when I was in flow, aligned, focused, opened, everything felt lighter and results came easier. When I forced it, resistance, stress, and frustrations were abound. Today, I measure progress not just by output, but also by energy. And am I forcing this, or am I allowing it to flow within? Flowing doesn't mean you don't work hard. It means you work is aligned with intention, not anxiety. It's where creativity, purpose, and peace meet, and it's where your best life lives. I think that's important. And so, what I want to leave you with today is letting go of control isn't about giving up, folks. I know that's what you may think, but it's about giving in to the deeper wisdom of life, creativity, and self trust. Whether you're building a brand, growing a relationship, or seeking your next breakthrough, sometimes the best thing you can do is review and release your grip. Take a breath, let it flow. If this episode resonated with you, please, I would hope that you'll share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, to subscribe for more deep dives that will move you forward. You can just go to the podcast network. You can go to the believemeachieve.com. There's so much great stuff that I have to offer with you. But if you just took one thing that you approved in your life, let's just even say one thing for a week, and you did that for 52 weeks, you would have approved 52 things in 1 year. Eventually, you could take one thing a day that you'd like to do a little better. But I say that sometimes it takes a little more than a day, right? But even if you took 2 days, right? I think the importance of knowing that we can make change is really amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know who I am, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Do check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, of course, inspiring creations. Have yourself a great day. Remember, letting go of control does not mean that you're surrendering. It just means you're letting things flow. Be well, everyone.